Welcome back, everybody. Today I'm making gluten-free soft flour tortillas. You guys have requested this for close to 2 years, so today I had time and I think I came up with a really good recipe. I have 2 recipe options. Hopefully you guys have the provisions and resources to make either one. But these are very soft and pliable. So I wanted to simplify this. I am using, for a full recipe, you could do 2.5 cups. I'm doing a half recipe, so I have 1 1/4 cups of gluten-free baking flour. This baking flour, by the way, contains potato starch, white rice flour, whole grain brown rice flour, potato starch, whole grain sorghum flour, tapioca flour, and xanthan gum. So if you have this brand, just use your baking flour. Here I have 1 1/4 cups. I've also added some baking powder, gluten-free baking powder. I added 1/2 tablespoon for my half recipe. I also added some salt, and I am now going to add cold water. And I'm just going to see what happens with that. I think we could still get a really good gluten-free option. It looks like it might be a little too thick, so I'm going to go in with another 1/4 cup until it sort of gets like that runny crepe texture. Yeah, I think in all, I'm going to end up adding 1 3/4 cup of water to this. Let's go in with a whisk. That works better. I'm going to preheat my griddle again to about a medium to medium-high heat. I'm going to oil the griddle and start making these the same way you would make a crepe, basically. Okay, I think I cranked up the heat. I added a little more water to my batter to make it runnier. So it's going to vary. If you're not, you just have to make a thin batter with this, especially if you're using the Bob Mills gluten-free baking, mixture. Now, if you're using something else, you're just going to have to wing it a little bit to get the consistency you want of the batter. But going in. So maybe that might work a little bit. And I notice with this batter, it's gummier, probably because of the rice starch that's in here, or the rice flour. So I cranked up the heat a little bit, and I'm going to let it cook for a little while on one side before I flip it. It's definitely not the technique you would use making regular flour tortillas. It's different, obviously, because you're not using regular flour. So I'm going to let this continue cooking for about 15 seconds more before I flip it. Okay. Oh, it does kind of bubble. Nice. So I just flipped it again, and I see these little light golden brown marks, kind of like a tortilla. So I think this works, and it really simplified the recipe. You don't have to add eggs and milk and things to it. Just water, your gluten-free baking flour, some salt, and baking powder. It works, and it is a great gluten-free option if you need a vessel for your tacos. There you go. I'm going to continue making these, and I'll show you what I end up with. So here, I'm going to be making half of the recipe, but I'll give you full recipe amounts. So you will need 2 cups of potato flour or potato starch flour and a 1/2 cup of tapioca flour. I'm also going to add 1 tablespoon of baking powder. I use Rumford, which is aluminum-free and gluten-free. I also will be adding 3/4 of a teaspoon of sea salt. Gonna give that a mix. Now for the wet ingredients, you're going to need 2½ cups of milk, and 4 large eggs. If you hear noise in the back, my kids are doing like homeschool stuff. So you'll need 4 large eggs to your 2½ cups of milk. Again, I'm only using 2 because I'm doing half the recipe. I'm going to give this a mix. And if you want to exclude the yolk to really get like a white looking flour tortilla, you could use maybe the egg whites of 6 large eggs. That might be something, especially if you have like a carton of egg whites. Okay, that's that. So now I'm going to combine this. And if you haven't figured it out, it's pretty much going to be like a loose batter, sort of like making a crepe. Okay. And then just start mixing. By the way, if while you're mixing, you'll want to go ahead and start preheating your griddle on a medium heat. Yeah, I think this might be a little bit more of what I'm looking for. That cook. Since this batter I poured it on thinner, it's going to be a lot quicker to cook. So I know what you're thinking. You're like, it's a pancake. Now the taste and the texture is also important. So whether you feel like you're eating a pancake, okay, well, so be it. But this will get you there if you need to have gluten-free, a gluten-free option. There you go. For those of you that asked, this is actually a pie carrying case that my mom bought me from a little vintage antique shop in her town, and I thought it was cute. She gave it to me, but it's technically for pies, but I use it for tortillas all the time. And these definitely, I mean, it is a gluten-free option. They have a very chewy texture with the egg and the milk. They are soft. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I made 8 with these. My family ate 1. Here are the other ones. And these are the ones, I actually like these better. These really, I mean, they have a good taste to them. I mean, obviously it's not going to taste exactly like flour tortillas, the soft kind, but look at this, soft, pliable. You can make wraps, burritos, tacos. I mean, I don't know. I really like this. I'm going to put the recipe ratios that I use below. I know I was saying like I'm making half recipes, but you know what? That's what I'm going to give you. And if you want more, just double what I put, in the measurements below. But this works with the gluten-free flour, just water, baking powder, and salt. I mean, it works in my opinion. I would go for this if strictly speaking of gluten-free options, this is a really good option. No egg, no milk went into this one, and I like the texture better. By the way, reheating these works well too. You can reheat these, and they might even come out better texturally, kind of with a little bit of not a char, but a toasty exterior and a soft, pliability to it. But yeah. So you probably could store these, in the fridge and use them the next day. I think these would reheat very well. They actually puff up quite nice when you reheat them. I hope you give this recipe a try. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching.